The Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office may begin providing electronic tablets to hundreds of inmates. They are viewed as a way to help with education and ease prison violence, but some fear they could be abused. Rob Masson has that story.
He's been out of jail now for 2 weeks and doesn't want to go back.
You feel like you just in a box, or you just out of space. It's like close. You feel like you dead.
The Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office has begun a process that could change all that. They're now taking bids from companies to provide electronic tablets, which could provide inmates with educational and entertainment options while easing communications with family members or lawyers.
Across the country, they've shown, and prison leaders and administrators have said, when they've introduced tablets, violence has went down and the whole environment has become a whole lot more safe.
If I had a tablet, oh man, I'd do everything.
29-year-old Gerald Tucker is now out on an electronic monitor after his most recent arrest for trespassing. He's been in and out of jail several times and says the possibility of learning a skill while in jail, something that doesn't happen now, could have changed his life.
I'd be learning about the music, the laws. I'd be learning about just literally everything that'll keep me from out of trouble.
But some worry the tablets could be misused, or that communications between prisoners and their attorneys or family members could be used against them.
This is something that has the opportunity to help them, but it has an opportunity to be something that they could get themselves in trouble with, so they better be careful.
Conversations between lawyers and their clients are confidential, and those would not be recorded under any circumstances.
As always, there's the issue of cost. Tablet companies can make money off of some of the content that they provide to the inmates, but in order to control some of that content, the Sheriff's Office may have to spend a little money.
Before we partner with any vendor regarding the tablets, we will make sure that all of these rights are protected and there's no chance that they will be infringed upon.
But some of the fees collected by the tablet company could be used to offset the cost of telephone calls or FaceTime with family members.
In the jurisdictions where I've seen the tablet programs employed, I've seen people have a better continuity of contact with their family. Of course, once again, it's dependent upon financial means because you have to pay for it.
The Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office says it's committed to keeping those costs as low as possible for inmates like Tucker, who hopes to never be arrested again.
I'm done with all that. I don't got time for all that. So somebody like me, it was very important because I'm respectful. I'm not fussing with the deputies. I'm staying out the way.
The Sheriff's Office says it will be discussing with city leaders in the coming weeks a tablet program which they believe will help ease prison violence and help inmates look to a brighter future after their release. And some prison reform advocates say the electronic tablet program could help reduce prison costs by reducing recidivism. They say education is far cheaper than long-term incarceration. The Orleans Sheriff's Office is now looking at tablet programs set up in states like Texas and Connecticut. Lauren?